What's up, everybody at home? This is your host of the Most Philly Gym, James Tatum, coming at you guys live from the Sideline Sports Network, Gauntlet Sports Media, all that good stuff. Today, I'm going to be hosting a roundtable conversation about the Philadelphia Eagles offseason, what we've seen, the moves that they make this year. The draft is coming up. We're going to go over that. And there's going to be a lot of cool discussions with a lot of cool YouTubers and content creators that really covers this team very, very well. First, I got Lindy Endzone, my main man, Lindy Legend, newest pickup of Sideline Sports. We're going to be starting an Eagles show as well, so be on the lookout for that. And then we got Philly Halftime in the building right here. What's going on, my man? All right. We're going to have a good conversation tonight. And then we couldn't have the show without Mitchell Trikovsky of the what's it called? What kind of network?
Spotlight Sports.
So make sure you guys check out Spotlight Sports Network, all the shows they have. Make sure you check out in the description. We have the links of all these gentlemen that took the time out of their Wednesday evening to join me. You could have been at Bible study with Carson Wentz, but you decided, hey, you know what? I want to get on this round table instead. So,
well, that wouldn't work for me since I'm Jewish. So that wouldn't work for me.
That wouldn't work for you? Well, it's one less reason to hang out with Carson Wentz. Am I right? We can all agree on that.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So, first things first, I think we should go ahead and get this out of the way. The biggest news that happened this week, we saw the Eagles make a trade. The Eagles traded back in the first round, and they basically picked up a bunch of picks in the process. I believe that we picked up a future first, so we got their pick next year. We got a bunch of picks. We got a future second rounder in 2024. We picked up another third this year too, I believe, and there's some other like late mid-round swaps as well. So I'm very interested to see what your guys' thoughts are. Halftime, we'll start with you since you low-key called this trade happening. You even got the team right, the trade right, you got everything right. I don't know how you knew that. That's some crazy intuition there, but what were your main thoughts when you saw the trade and what we got back just from trading back with the Saints?
Well, when I seen the trade, I was like, you had to focus on it. I was like, wow, we got so much in for the trade that I couldn't believe we got that much for involved in that trade.
Definitely agree.
But like, I think they did it because of a money situation, and they went up and did what they had to do to save a little bit of money for the cap space, and I like the trade a lot, and there's going to be some people that didn't like the trade.
So you really like the trade, all right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Mitch, what were your thoughts on the trade? Do you think it was a good move? Do you think that we should have kept our first-rounders for this year? How are you feeling about that trade?
I love it. I love the trade because we can't pay 3 first-round picks. We can't be able to afford that in a long coming run. So for that, it's a good move. And we have a security blanket just in case if Jalen Hurts is not the guy. So for me, on those two, I love it. And we fleeced the Saints, and all the Saints fans hate me, which is great.
We got Vic joining the show. I was on his show last weekend. Vic, my man, what's going on, man? How you feeling about this trade that we just did?
How's it going, fellas? I'm at the last stage of grief. I'm at acceptance. I got it. It is what it is. I felt that they should have held on until the draft. They could have possibly gotten more out of another team. I guess everyone's saying that we couldn't pay 3 first-round picks. But my thing is, we're not paying them up front. So I would have rather have them play. If that's the case, just have them play. And if there are, 3 stars, you could trade in. You could have trade value and get picks from that. But it is what it is. They made the move. It's cool. They got another pick next year. So we have 2 first-rounders. I believe a second-rounder the year after, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, 2024.
Yeah, so, it sets up us for the future. But my thing is, how far is Howie Roseman looking down the road when he only has a 3-year extension?
Right, I feel you on that. Lindy, what about you? What were your thoughts and what was your first reaction to seeing this trade happen?
Well, my reaction was that obviously that this was a move that was done with plenty of homework involving the front office, and obviously those within the franchise with Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie, you have to imagine was involved in some capacity, and the rest of the personnel that helps out. That helps out Howie with these kind of decisions, but it's ultimately up to him whether or not he wants to execute it. But yeah, you have to imagine at the end of the day when you make a trade like this, the scouting department, they have to feel comfortable to the point of whoever is like top priority on their board, that they have to imagine that these players are going to fall to the positions to where they were comfortable enough to make this kind of a trade and spread it across multiple years instead of putting all your eggs into one basket, so to speak. This to me, this was a it was kind of a we talk about the depth of a football team all the time, and this was kind of a depth decision to give yourself some insurance going forward, not just thinking about this year, but a couple of years down the road when you start to build on the foundation that you have started with for Jalen Hurts. And if he ends up proving himself this year, and you're only banking in on the next couple of years if a extension for Jalen is in the works.
All right, Lindy. Yeah, I think you made a lot of really good points. Shout out to Birdman 951 in the comment section, and go check out his YouTube channel. I'm going to respond to something that he just said, because I see where you're going with this, Birdman. But in terms of the compensation that the Saints gave us, basically, is it really worth it for them to pick up the 18th overall pick and give us their first rounder next year, and then give us like a second round pick and an extra third round pick? Was it really worth all that they gave up? You do make a good point, though, because from a compensation standpoint, there's no doubt about it that the Philadelphia Eagles, they ripped the Saints off, in terms of that. But you got to look at the flip side of it, which is what he's trying to bring up. So you got Howie making these picks, which I hope that some of the other people involved, like Nick Sirianni and Jeffrey Lurie and other people in the organization, kind of have a say-so of the conversation between who they pick and who they don't. What I would really say is, if it's an offense or defensive lineman, Howie's done a great job drafting those positions. If you go back 10, 12 years, those are the positions that he drafts very well. However, he's very poor at drafting skill positions. So last year got it right with Devontae Smith, but he's got to be able to duplicate that. He's got to be able to duplicate what he's done, what he did last year, I mean. So you can't be going back down the road of, drafting all these high-character guys and hard-working guys. Like, that's what a lot of these guys say when you draft a player that you probably shouldn't have over a superstar caliber player in like DK Metcalf or Jefferson, because I feel like that was one of the narratives that was brought up about justifying that pick. Oh, we love him. He's a great kid. All this other stuff. Well, he can be a great kid, but can he play? And that's kind of the problem that we're looking at. But 2 first round picks this year and next year, this is the chance for Howie to change the narrative of the fact that he hasn't been able to hit on these picks. Change the narrative, show that you can draft those skill positions, like I just pointed out that you can't. You have the chance to do that over the next 2 years.
And I will say, Jim, that's another good point by Philly Mike in the comments, saying we still got more value. We could draft 3 busts or 2 busts. Yeah, who we draft is not a part of who won, and of course it's not, because that's a part of a schematic standpoint. That's a situational standpoint. Teams have different needs for their franchises, so you really can't gauge it off of the value of the amount of the picks alone. Teams have different values for where they're selecting in the draft and what their specific needs are. So yeah, we can't take this at face value right now, because those instances are completely situational per franchise.
Yeah, and the other part that I want to go over in this trade, and I'm gonna open this to an open conversation. So anytime you guys like have something to add or something, feel free to do so. So Jalen Hurts, we got Jalen Hurts coming to his third year as a quarterback, his second year as the full-time starter of this team. You got 2 firsts this year and 2 next year. So there's 2 ways this could go out. So Jalen doesn't show the improvement that we need him to show this season. And they pretty much just move on from him. And then you got quarterbacks that are coming out for next year in the class that are most likely going to be having their eyes on. So there's that. Or if Jalen does exceed the expectations that he has, well, you got 2 first-rounders this year to build around him. And then you got 2 next year to build it around him. So what I really want to know from you guys is what's your honest opinion right now? What do you think happens going into this season? Like, gun to your head right now. Is Jalen Hurts going to ball out and, show he's going to be the quarterback of the future? Or do you think that he's just not going to be good enough and, this is probably going to be the last year we see Jalen as the starter here? Anybody can take it.
I'll take it.
Go ahead, man.
So, for me, it just depends on if we get weapons for him or not. If we don't get any weapons, like, people are going to say, oh, look, he still has, like, Rager, he still has got Whiteside, etc. So if we get weapons around him and he can perform well, I can see a good future if we get the good weapons around him.
So, Mitch, you're saying basically if we go into the season with the wide receivers that we have right now, Zach Pascal, Jalen Rager, Quez Watkins, JJ, all those guys right now, you saying that Jalen's probably not going to succeed?
Well, we were going to have to rely on the run game as well. So if we have a good run game, I could see us going like that, but we need to build weapons. We need to get weapons. We do. DK's still available, people. DK's still available.
Apparently, they're taking calls on him, but the Seahawks are not really too willing to let go of him for, any less of a massive haul.
It is reported that
don't take a quarterback. Yeah, I don't think they're going to take a quarterback this year. I think the whole point of getting those picks is if they're sold, and they might not be fully sold on Jalen, but they're enough sold on him to where they're like, yeah, this guy's probably a better option than what we got in this class right now, and then 2 first-round picks next year. If it doesn't happen the way we want it to, guess what? There's way better quarterbacks next year.
Yeah. To Mitch's point about DK, it has been reported that the Seahawks have turned down the number 10 pick in the draft for DK. So I think it's going to take more than a high first round pick to
I don't think
take him out of the Seahawks' hands. So
I don't see any of that kind of stuff happening, and we've seen that Jalen's trying to recruit AJ Brown to the Eagles as well. He's been talking to him on Instagram a lot. He's got a good friendship with AJ, but you guys got to look at it from this perspective. Not only are you giving up like the draft capital, we know that Howie Roseman is not going to pay a wide receiver that amount of money. Like, we've already seen it. If he was going to do that, we would have got Allen Robinson. We would have got, Christian Kirk. We would have got like one of these guys that was on the market. So when you're talking about AJ Brown, DK Metcalf, or somebody like that, you can't just trade for them. You have to also sign them to like a massive extension, like pretty much almost immediately. because that's a situation DK and AJ Brown are both in right now. So if they do draft a receiver, which I'm not going to fully guarantee at this point, I'm not going to fully guarantee it. If they do draft one, it's probably going to be one of our picks this year, but they're not going to go out and pay a receiver that amount of money, and they're not going to like give up that draft capital on top of it. I don't see that happening.
I totally agree with you, and I agree with Mitch. If you don't put no weapons around them, they're not getting no. They need another running back. They need a wide receiver, a better wide receiver than the enforcer, Whiteside and Reagor. I mean,
it's just not going to happen, man. I mean,
but they're not going to do it. Like I said on my stream, listen, you're not going to get DK Metcalf because you have to give up like 3 to 4 picks and a bag full of money. You're not going to give him $25 million. You didn't like giving wide receivers $11 million. Now you're going to give them 25. You're not going to go get AJ Brown and give him. They're going to take 3 or 4 picks and give him a bag full of money. You're not going to do it.
Not going to happen.
No, not at all. But I mean, like Jalen Hurts has to do it with this team. He has to put this team on his shoulders, and he's going to have to chuck the ball down the field, and he's going to have to throw for at least 4,000 yards. And
right,
like I say, about maybe 15, 16 touchdowns, and I just don't know. I don't know if he can do it.
Yeah.
I know they say he's been working with Tom Brady. And then he was working with Peyton Manning. I mean, like, come on. They're not going to show you all the tricks in the book. They're going to tell you how to deal with the media, mostly.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not going to tell you, hey, this is what you got to work on.
And Jalen knows how to deal with the media ever since his days at Alabama. Even shout out to Nick Saban because he's the one that coined the phrase about the media referring to them as rat poison. And that's why I remember one of Jalen's first press conference. He says, "No, I don't buy into the media because they're rat poison." Nick Saban taught that man well. I got to give him credit for that. But I think you guys are all right. I think that right now Jalen's in a situation where he's up against more than he should be, just because we know Devontae Smith is a very good receiver. And we know that Dallas Goedert is a very good tight end, so he does have some weapons out there, but that other receiver spot is just that's going to kill our offense. Jalen Reagor not being able to get separation, not being able to beat his man consistently, that's going to be a major problem for our offense. Basically, we don't need a superstar wide receiver right now. Yeah, one of these rookies that comes in, we just need you to get open. Catch the ball when it's thrown towards your way. That's pretty much it. It's pretty simple stuff, but it's apparently too complicated for Reagor to figure it out. But I think that's a major part of what's holding our passing game back. Personally, I've heard a lot of comments about Jalen Hurts holding our passing game back, but if you're asking me right now, I think Jalen Reagor is holding our passing game back more than Jalen Hurts is.
Well, they got to be able to catch the ball too.
Right. You got to get somebody with hands, but you got to get somebody that's better than Reagor. Because this.
Well, you also got to figure too. Jalen's going to come back in this. I was going to say you got to figure too. Jalen's going to come back in his second year, like we said. He's working with Tom House. He's working with Tom Brady. He's working with others to get his game better. He's going to understand the offense more because this is going to be his second year, and they're going to open things up more. So you're going to see an increase in production out of Jalen Hurts. To answer your question, what you said before, I think he's going to have a really big year. A lot of people are going to be surprised. It's not going to be like a massive jump, but he's going to make a good jump. And the thing is, they're going to look at his arm and they say like his deep ball accuracy is going to get a little better.
So are you saying that you're saying he's not going to make a major jump, Vic? But is the jump you see him making, is that enough of a jump to justify after this season saying, you know what, we're going to keep our 2 first-round picks, and we're going to ride it out with him for, another season in 2023. Do you see that happening?
Well, it all depends on what happens with the season too. Say if they go into the second round of playoffs,
we make the playoffs.
That's a progression from last year. Again, we're talking about a quarterback after his first season took the team to the playoffs. Not a lot of quarterbacks do that. So again, is it that the Philadelphia fans are impatient, or is it that the Eagles are doing the right thing about Jalen Hurts?
Okay. You guys got any thoughts on that situation? Like, what are you guys thinking right now? Is Jalen gonna do you see him making enough of a jump to say Howie, Nick, and the guys and Jeffrey Lurie and all the guys are gonna say, hey, you know what? We're gonna ride it out for one more year. We're running it back. Do you guys see that happening or no?
I can see it happening.
No.
I can see him making a jump, Jalen Hurts, because he's already working with Tom House, who's arguably one of the best quarterback coaches, or what is it? I forget what he is. But and then you got him working with Tom Brady as well this offseason. So it's just like once you're learning from both Toms, my God, that sounds weird to say, but if you're learning from both Toms, you're definitely taking the next jump. You're definitely doing that.
He's around the thing about Jalen is he's surrounding himself with the right people at the right time. Was there ever a point from 2016 through 2020, I suppose, was there ever a time that we were, hearing about Carson Wentz is going out with Tom House and all these spectacular quarterback coaches? Because I never recall. I'm not saying that he never did work in the offseason, but I mean, for even last year, all I heard was Jalen was working with people, and he's working with people again this year. So, the way that this guy goes about his business just has me thinking he knows what he knows what he has to do to get better, and he's going to put the work in to get better. But the thing that he can't control, everything that's under his control, I think he's going to handle that. But he can't control the Eagles drafting, 2 or 3 defensive linemen with her first couple of picks or something in the draft, and him having to march out with Jalen Reagor as the second receiver. These are things he can't control, which could hold him back. Which was back to my original point. I feel very strongly that Reagor holds the passing game back further than Jalen Hurts holds it back.
Yeah, and to the point of the question, to me, I don't think it's a matter of if. I think it's a matter of when, because I think he's already known since his first year of starting that his back is already against the wall. He was put in a situation where he was not drafted to be the starter of this football team, and being that one thing led to another when we've already witnessed the demise of our once former franchise quarterback, supposedly. He was jetted into the starting lineup to take this team over in an offense that he really didn't spend much time in terms of the first team. He was always usually commanding the second or third team when he was first drafted. So now he gets into this position. He's starting his first year, and he understands that he has to learn a whole new offensive concept again. You have a new head coach as a play caller, new offensive coordinator, a lot of new across the board, and then that ties into the defense as well. So you can't also discount the defense in this situation where Jalen's on the sidelines thinking that, okay, well, maybe I lost a little bit of momentum offensively, but I have to imagine that, at some point the defense is going to, try and help me out here. And there was too many instances where the defense was playing just as inconsistent as the offense was, continuing to give up points, continuing to help extend the opposing team's lead. And there is a lot of cases where Jalen had to play from behind. And while we know he is built to be able to come back from those deficits, the defense wasn't good enough to where Jalen just didn't have time, and a lot of the critiques were pertaining to his garbage time stats. So this is a combination of the offense and defense. We have already seen some defensive upgrades. We have been a little bit underwhelmed with the offensive upgrades, and to the point of giving receivers extensions. I mean, we just seen Stephon Diggs get a 4-year, $105 million extension today. So that's, we already know that's something that Howie Roseman is not going to do at this point in time, especially when you have a build up of around younger players, which is what they've been wanting to do for the last couple of years. And because of the inconsistency from the former quarterback, they weren't able to do that. They had to surround him with some veterans to help coddle him and to kind of keep him in line, because intangibly Carson wasn't that guy, whereas Jalen is. So now the situation's different. And yeah, you say, well, the teams we played sucked. Well, okay, so the other critique to that people are going to use against Hurts this year is the fact that people will say, well, he took advantage of an extra game in this regular season, since last year we didn't have 17 games, we only had 16. Well, okay, that's fine and everything. And yeah, did that help get us a playoff spot? Yeah, sure it did. But Jalen had to put the work in keeping this team above a 500 record when everyone had us going, 5 games or less. So, I mean,
you can't really use the argument that he had an extra game, though, because he missed 2 games due to injury. So
yeah,
he didn't play the full 18 games.
What I'm saying is you already know that is
games.
Part of the criticism. You already know people have said that already. Just to find something to put against this kid, when it's not just the problem's not just the quarterback. The system itself is the problem, because you've had inconsistency over the last couple of years, and you've had positions where you didn't expect this team to be in the first place. So now they're almost starting from square one all over again, and they have to build a team around another quarterback again. And like I was saying, in terms of Jalen Hurts, to me, it's not a if question, it's a matter of when, because I think he understands, the cards are stacked against him right now, and he's going to take this as professionally as he possibly can, to understand that this is going to be one of my only chances to get an extension, and I better do it with the team that drafted me in the first place.
And I got to say one more thing about Birdman's comment before we move on. I completely disagree with this statement, especially the ending part of the statement. Our running game got into the playoffs. Hurts didn't have to do much. How many rushing yards and how many rushing touchdowns did Jalen Hurts have of that? Jalen Hurts is part of the reason why our rushing game was so much more dynamic. We always had the great offensive line. We always had Miles Sanders. We always had, we just drafted Kenneth Gainwell. We had Jordan Howard and Boston Scott on this team for a few years. We always had that, but this running game did not look this dynamic. This is the most dynamic our running game has been since 2017, when they led the league, or they were third in the league in rushing that year. It's much more dynamic because of Jalen's athleticism and his ability to really get involved in the quarterback run game. So saying that Jalen Hurts was not a part of that, something I can't get behind.
But yeah,
and Philly halftime, may I say, I know you brought up some of the projected Hurts statistics that what your expectations are going into this year.
Right.
I have to imagine that he's going to have to throw more than 16 touchdowns, because I think that's what he had last year. So if we're looking for an advancement in terms of him being a passing
at least
quarterback, 20. I would have to say he would have to throw anywhere from, let's say, 23 to 26 passing touchdowns. So in terms of passing, I would think as a fair number of improvement, if he has had a minimum of about 3,750 passing yards, I think that's fair. I don't want to go 4,000 and really elevate the expectations for him. I want to see him do it myself instead of setting the bar. And then when he doesn't reach that bar, I'm going to be even more disappointed, because that's just not, in some terms, it may not be realistic, because we know he's going to also run with the football. So you have to imagine if he ends up somewhere around maybe 4,300 all-purpose yards, I think that would be a fair comp as to him having a improved season from last year.
Yeah, you know what? At the end of the day, I like everything you're saying. At the end of the day, here's the thing. Stats don't always tell the whole story.
No,
they don't. Because let me bring something up when we're talking about Jalen's season this past year. And Jalen had a good season. If you're asking me, I think he had a good season first year as a starter. If you stack him up against some of the rookie quarterbacks like Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence and people like that, they didn't really play that good. Jalen, I think, played better than all of them. And I just think that people are forgetting the amount of touchdowns that we lost due to some stupid penalties. Like,
you got him back.
Like, I don't know how many touchdowns got wiped out because of like a player stepping out of bounds and stuff. Like, he made some big time throws to these guys that got wiped out. Like, I just feel like because of that, it doesn't really show that he probably had a little bit of a better season than people give him credit for.
And you got to look at, it's also the coach too. You got a rookie coach, and he had some bad plays that he called. And Jalen Hurts has to try to make this happen.
And it was rough.
When you're throwing the ball, 6 yards behind you, but hey, they did a lot of that. And they're not really giving nobody any credit. I mean, Jalen Hurts is throwing 6 yards behind him, and the guy's missing it. It's like, what the heck are you doing? Your wide receivers, that's why you need a wide receiver, because they're just bad. You only got one good wide receiver. You got a great tight end, but you need a little bit more to help Jalen Hurts. That's my thing about Jalen Hurts. You need more to help him to get by. You can't go do with a bunch of guys that you got from McDonald's.
Yeah. I think, I don't want to make excuse, but I think one of the issues for Jalen last year was the inexperience of the coaching staff. They're first-year guys. You have his quarterback coach. When there's an issue that happens, you can't bounce off that idea to the quarterback coach because he doesn't have the experience. He doesn't know what that's supposed to look like himself. Yeah, what it's supposed to be on a diagram, but he hasn't been in the NFL long enough to say, hey, this is what you got to do in this situation. Like, they don't have that. Jalen didn't have anyone like that to bounce that off of. I think that was the one issue I had. And, they said that Johnson's a great quarterback coach, but again, I felt that they needed someone with more experience so that way Jalen can come to him and be that person that he can talk to. Hey, I had this look. What if this comes up on this play? And then you go on from there. Or if he had a mistake, I'm pretty sure Brian Johnson got his job. But again, there's mistakes that he could have made that I guarantee you a seasoned coach could have corrected and probably helped Jalen on further. Like, it's going to be a little harder. His progression is going to be a little stuttered because of the coaching experience too.
Yeah,
you know what? I don't think Shane Steichen is that good of an offensive coordinator, if I'm being real. Go ahead, Lindy.
Yeah, and like to Vic's point, what he's talking about is that you would prefer to look at this through a NFL vision instead of a collegiate vision when you're putting Brian Johnson as the quarterback coach. And a lot of that has to do with the personal relationship that he has with Jalen Hurts, and that's all fine and dandy. But if he can't help him at a NFL quarterback type of level, the way, Brian was able to help Kyle Trask from a collegiate level, that negative doesn't do anything for Jalen right now. So when you're in a position where not just the player but the coach are growing together in the NFL at the same time, it's not that's not the greatest recipe, and you have to provide a little bit more patience in that regard, especially for this fan base. But Yeah, I mean it's also a fair point, and I don't know if I would. I don't know if I would lay a lot of it at the feet of, guys like Shane Steichen and Jason Michael and some more of the seasoned, positional coaches or coordinators on the coaching staff. I wouldn't put it as much on them as I would maybe Sirianni to a fault because of him being a first-year head coach and slash play caller. I would put a little bit of it on him, and I would put more of it on Brian Johnson instead.
Well, then if you do that, then you have to put it on Howie Roseman, because your head coach should be able to pick out the groceries and be able to put players around Jalen Hurts. And they're not doing that. You got Howie Roseman telling Jalen them to, you got to put these guys in, and then Whiteside and Reagor. So he's, Nick Sirianni's really, his hands are tied. He's just a yes man.
Well, Sirianni picked out the majority of the coaching staff because all of them have a connection towards him, and then those who have been retained are either a very valuable asset to the franchise in terms of a coach, or they've had a connection prior, or they had a connection prior to Sirianni even being there, a la Aaron Moorhead, the receivers coach. So that's part of the reason why the Eagles retained him, which is, a little bit of a positive, since the Eagles haven't had consistency at the wide receivers coach position for the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. That has plagued them pretty badly. And, we have to imagine that Moorhead's probably getting a lot of flack for the, just the lack of performance from guys like, Whiteside and Reagor and whoever else they have in the background that's getting, little to no snaps. But yeah, no, I would think the majority of the coaching staff has, most of it to do with Sirianni. Maybe not so much guys like Tracy Rocker. I think they got him for more of an experience standpoint to help out with, the veteran defensive linemen. But you look at guys like Jonathan Gannon and Shane Steichen and Nick Rallis and Brian Johnson, Jason Michael, a lot of people from the Vikings and Chargers and Colts coaching staff. So you're getting the idea of a comfortability for the head coach, of people that he knows, people that people that are easy to work with in terms of bringing him along as a head coach. So I would think it's more about the players that have, the players and coaches that have already been here instead of the new ones that just brought in.
Yeah, you made a lot of really good points.
I have a question. Now, all these coaches that he brought in, Jim's going to like this one. And don't they all have to do with analytics? They all have something to do with analytics. They really do. They're all about analytics. And Jim hates the analytics part, but that's why I said it. But they all have something to do with analytics, and that's what Howie Roseman likes. That's why.
Well, we should be used to the analytics. We had it since Doug. That's what that's where he got his 4th down calls. That's why he was so bullish with them, because everything he did was about the analytics. This younger generation, that's what they're all about now.
I'm just old. I'm just old. I just can't deal with it.
Then you had Chip Kelly measuring players' hand sizes and whatever, those crazy measurements that he was doing.
Remember when he used to have to keep the sleep monitors?
I'm never drinking the analytics Kool-Aid. I don't care. It's not happening.
No, I'm not. I can't do it. I guess I'm the old guy. I just can't do it.
The whole Jalen Reagor situation, that is 100% an analytical situation for them. Like,
it is.
It's literally, it's not a hard decision to make. Jalen Reagor went up against garbage secondaries in the Big 12 when he played for TCU. Justin Jefferson was going up against guys that are going to the league and getting drafted very, very high and torching them in the college playoffs and everything. So It's literally not a hard decision to make, but because they use analytics, they screwed up and they set our franchise back by several years.
Well, Rager having 4 different quarterbacks in college didn't help him either. Like they had a complete inconsistency at the quarterback position, so he really had nobody
That's
to
the
get used
excuse
to
people
what he was
use
on
for
the
him when he was
field.
coming out.
It's legitimate though, because you have to adjust to every single quarterback's tendencies. They don't have the same velocity, they don't got the same play recognition and all that sort of thing. But yeah, I mean,
What I'm saying is it's not as much
that's what's left of Rager's defense, but it's still Rager's responsibility to step up from that and realize that you're a first round pick in the NFL now, and then now there's no excuse. Yeah.
Yeah, what I'm trying to say is it's not really as valid enough of an excuse to say, yeah, you know what? Let's give him the benefit of the doubt over like taking Justin Jefferson. For me, like there was no excuse to mess that pick up, and we managed to do it.
And they messed up Whiteside. I mean, you could have got DK.
I just like to see how they evaluated their draft board that year. How'd that work out? Who gave them the reason that Rager was higher than Jefferson?
I think the only way we can fix this is there's 2 ways we can fix this problem that we have with Howie making these terrible picks.
Yeah,
I still think that was
you need someone else from this front office to not necessarily take over, but they need to delegate the responsibilities of the draft board to another person in the front office instead of making Howie the one that's like solely over it. I'm thinking kind of like a co-GM type of a situation. Howie, if it's offensive lineman or defensive lineman or whatever, we trust you 100%. Any other position, you are not making this pick, my man. That ain't happening.
Well, didn't we have that with Joe Douglas? And before that, didn't we bring in? I want to say it was.
I think we need another Joe Douglas.
He was with the Browns.
That's exactly what I think this team needs.
Yeah, like they had a guy that was former GM of the Browns had to come in, and he would help us out with the draft. So Howie was always looking for someone to help him out with the draft. But I think for him, it's kind of showing him how to draft. He wanted someone to get in depth so that way he can be the one making the picks. We all know the issues that he had in the past making picks. But I think this year, Howie is incorporating what the coaches want more. Like we seen last year with the
what he should have been doing since the start.
Yeah, so I think that's what they're doing. Like it's going to be more of a group effort, something that we don't know about. I think that's what's going on in the background, especially for this year. It's more of the coaches and Howie, more of a group effort into making these picks.
A group effort, and that was going to be my second option, as opposed to the
you're referring to
I want
Vic. You're referring
people.
to John Dorsey.
I want more people. Yep. I want more.
No. John Dorsey was one from Kansas City. They actually had. Oh my God, I don't know why. Well, maybe it was Dorsey. Does he run the Senior Bowl?
I'm pretty sure it was John Dorsey who we brought in from the Browns.
I was going to say I just want more people involved with the situation. Like it can be Nick Sirianni, it can be any assistant coaches, it can be anybody from the scouting department, whoever you want to do it. I feel like it should be an open conversation instead of Howie deciding who he wants.
I'd rather have just a plain old Eagles fan making the picks than Howie Roseman. But I just don't have faith in Howie Roseman.
I hear you.
Yeah, it was John Dorsey because he was he was part of the executive personnel when he was brought in to help out Howie last year.
No, who did Howie?
Because I know he ran the Senior Bowl now. Like that was his big thing. His drafting has always been his thing. Howie's always looked for someone who has good drafting experience.
Yeah, now Dorsey's over in Detroit.
Since we're on the subject of the draft, let's go around and let's discuss some of these draft prospects. And I'm just going to straight up ask you guys, what player if you had to pick one player from this draft that you really, really want us to draft, who's your player? Linda, you want to start us off?
That's pretty broad. That's pretty broad.
It is really broad.
Very, very situational. Very conditional. All depending on what the Eagles do. And since you started with me first, and I made my very first mock, literally a half hour before the show started.
Let's hear that mock while you're talking.
So maybe an hour before the show started, I created one of my very first mocks. I based it on the team's needs, who I felt would be the best fits, knowing the coaching staff that we have, knowing the team that we have, and the players and everything. You guys get the picture. We've done a ton of mocks already, but I only did the first through third rounds. If you think about it, this Eagles draft class is going to be very top heavy in terms of quality selections. Our first 5 picks are from the first through the third rounds. That's a lot of ammunition to make some pretty good improvements on this football team. Now it depends who's available at that point in time, and I guess I didn't have the greatest luck in terms of best available players on this mock, although I was able to get some top selections based on BPA. For the 15th pick, I actually chose a corner. So the 15th and 18th pick, I went defense for both. As crazy as it may sound, well, where's your receiver? I'll get to that. This draft class is very deep at receiver. I'm not as worried about a receiver as I am the defense, especially if we're trying to help out Jonathan Gannon if he's going to be the future answer at this defensive coordinator position. And if he is not, you need to build some depth on the defense to bring in somebody that may be a better fit as a coordinator if Gannon is not the answer. So for we'll start with the 15th pick here that I selected, and again, this is my very first mock, so don't get the pitchforks out. But at the 15th pick, I took Andrew Booth Jr. out of Clemson. Okay. He is projected to be a starting outside corner. As we all know, Darius Slade does not have a partner on the outside. Andrew Booth has the versatility between man coverage and zone coverage, but he has done a lot of zone-heavy defenses at Clemson, and we know that's a lot of what the Eagles do under Jonathan Gannon, since it's a clone to an extent of what Jim Schwartz used to do in this defense. There's a lot of zone, but he's still capable of playing man coverage. That kind of versatility is pretty much the type of corners that we have been looking at, that we have been going after as of recently. So 15, I chose Andrew Booth. 18th, I went with an edge rusher. I took George Karlaftis out of Purdue. What is one thing that the Eagles constantly talk about in terms of the edge rusher position? Explosion, explosion, explosion. And Karlaftis provides a ton of that off the line. As soon as the ball is snapped, he is quick to get into position to take advantage of tackles and really put a ton of pressure on the quarterback. Knowing that the future isn't looking very bright for, a guy like Brandon Graham, we don't know what his timetable is, if this is probably going to end up being his last year coming off of that Achilles injury. We already know how it's impacted a guy like Brandon Brooks, to where you need that lift off, whether you're playing offensive line or defensive line. There's a lot. You're looking for a lot of that strength from your Achilles when you're moving with your feet. And while BG has probably been robbed a lot of that strength, so you need to replace the explosiveness that a guy like BG used to provide. You want to keep Derek Barnett towards the bottom of the depth chart, so he's on the field the least amount of time
exploding yellow flags on the field.
And yeah, so a guy like George Karlaftis would be a perfect fit to put on the opposite side of Josh Sweat. So you imagine Karlaftis and Josh Sweat on the field at the same time. You could put in packages, with him and Hassan Reddick, on the field at the same time. How nasty of a pass rush that would look when you combine that with Fletcher Cox and Javon Hargrave. So with the first round picks out of the way, we get to the second. We only have 1 second at 51. I took a receiver here, knowing that there is depth in the receiver position for this draft. And shocker, I don't think you guys are ready for the receiver I chose. I know Christian Watson. Christian Watson was there. I know the other kid from Bama was there, but the biggest thing for the Eagles is that they have needed an X receiver that can really work the intermediate area of the field if we're going to be playing in a lot of 11 personnel with only one tight end. You want another guy for the immediate area of the field, while guys like Devontae Smith have the short area quickness. Quez Watkins has short area quickness, but they are also threats to take you over the top. So the perfect complement for those two, in my opinion, if we take a receiver out of the second round, is David Bell out of Purdue. 6'2", 6'3", he uses his frame very well. And what is one thing that we know that Nick Sirianni appreciates in terms of his receivers? He loves route running technicians, and David Bell is no exception to that. So I think he would be a great complement for the X receiver position that we have been looking for. He has shown versatility to where he can play the boundary. He can do the short pass game. He can play in the slot. Another important factor, he's not the greatest in terms of run blocking, but we're looking for pass targets here for Jalen Hurts. So with all that considered, David Bell was my receiver pick. Then, sorry, I'm taking a while here, but I like explaining myself. So the final two picks in the third round, 83 and 101. The first third round pick is where I took my linebacker. Rejoice, right? I took a linebacker in the third.
Interesting.
I took linebacker Channing Tindall out of Georgia. He pretty much fits the mold of what the Eagles already have in terms of linebackers. They don't have those big physical type of guys back there. We don't think of TJ Edwards as one. Davion Taylor and Patrick Johnson is a linebacker / edge. We already have Hassan Reddick as a pass rusher. But where are we weakest in terms of linebacker? Well, these guys aren't very good in pass coverage, and I think that's where a guy like Channing Tindall would really help the rotation. And for my last pick in the third round, I took a safety, as we know, and this would be worst case scenario if the Eagles don't somehow end up signing Tyrann Mathieu, which the writing's on the wall.
In contact with
Tyrann Mathieu would be the perfect signing in terms of having that cornerstone type of safety for the next few years. Structure a deal like we gave Darius Slade to bring him over here. I think that would be fair enough for Tyrann Mathieu, not to the amount of money that Slade got, since safeties don't get paid as much as corners. But that I think that's very fair. But if we don't get a guy like Tyrann Mathieu, this draft wasn't very deep at safety. I mean, I think Kyle Hamilton, you got guys like Kyle Hamilton. I think there's a couple of others that are second rounders, but no one really, outside of Kyle, no one really stands completely out in terms of the amount of players, depth wise going into the draft. So I took Brian Cook out of Cincinnati.
Nice. That's interesting. All right. Well, I guess I'll go next. If I could pick one player to add to our team, Jameson Williams, because I feel like what you were saying about the receiver from Purdue being like an intermediate guy. I feel like Devontae Smith could be the intermediate guy for us. I feel like Reagor was brought in to be a guy that's explosive and opens up like the whole game because he takes the top off the defense, which Reagor does not do, which Jameson Williams could do, and his ability to just outrun the entire defense, whether it's with Yak or just getting, behind. He's just faster than, most people on the field, so he's just going to run right by you. So that's why I really think he would be a good fit for our offense because it will allow Smith and Goddard to work the middle of the field. So that's why I think he would be a really good fit with our offense.
To piggyback off of that, when you're thinking of Jameson in that regard, is the idea to replace Rager or more so worry about versatility in the offense?
I mean, I'm just going off of what I think would be the best product on the field. And I think that Rager not being able to do what we expected him to do is one of the main reasons that our passing offense is held back so much. And I think Williams would take it to another level.
That's fair.
All right, Vic, you want to go next?
I just still think we need that, that 50-50, that X type of receiver. I think we got plenty of speed already, and balance the passing game up a little bit, especially if we don't invest. Excuse me. Especially if we don't invest highly in the tight end position.
I got you. All right, halftime. You want to go ahead?
Well, I was going to pick Booth.
Okay.
But that was my guy at 15. But like I said to you guys, I think the Eagles are going to trade 18 or 15. I'm not sure which one they're trading, but they're going to trade, and they're going to trade back again for a second-round pick. So, but I mean, I just have this feeling. It's because they're trying to save money, and that will put the Eagles, what would that save them? Another $3 or $4 million. And they like doing that. But I would pick Booth as my first pick.
I gotcha. All right, Vic, who you got? What player do you really, really want us to draft?
If it could happen, it's always going to be Kyle Hamilton off the bat. That's the guy. I think that'll be a difference maker on this team, and he fills a big need of position that
So you would trade up for him?
Well, it all depends. If rumors are true and he falls, we'll see where we're at. It might not be as big of a jump as we may originally thought. It might be something that's feasible, but if not, I'm okay with going with like Lindy said, Karlaftis. That'd be a great pick. The receiver, I think we would go with our second pick. I would love to get Chris Olave. I think the kid's a technician, great route running. Kind of reminds me of Smith, but he's a little faster and a deep ball threat. He's a better deep ball threat. Can let Smith, like you said, Goddard eat in the middle. Watkins too can be another threat. I think that would help out the offense a lot.
I think there's a lot of receivers that can help this offense a lot.
Yeah, definitely. And I think with the second, going back into second, we focus on defense. I think this draft we need to focus on defense a lot. I like Nick Bonito, I believe it's pronounced. I'm not sure.
Okay.
He's out of Oklahoma.
Defensive tackle, defensive lineman.
He's a defensive end.
Yeah. Yep.
Rusher.
I know.
And then in the third round, go back for that safety and get what is his Cross? Nick Cross.
Nick Cross.
I think I've heard
out of Maryland, I believe. Another good safety that that would help out the defense. We look at Jalen and we need to give him weapons, but our defense right now is struggling. It's getting older. There's so many holes. We need to focus on that.
We need a great defense.
I'm sorry?
We need a great defense.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I think for me, one of the reasons why I was upset when we made the move is because I felt that we could have capitalized on 15, 16, and 19, got great defenders. But like I said, it is what it is. They made the move, and we got to make what we have.
I got you. So now we've all pretty much done that and said, who we want. Now let's flip it on the other side. Instead of saying who we want, who do you guys think we're actually going to end up getting? I'm going to go first on this one. Our first pick will definitely be a defensive lineman. There is no doubt about it. It's either going to be a defensive end or a defensive tackle. I don't know who's going to be on the board. I don't know if Jordan Davis is going to be on the board. Devontae Wyatt's going to be on the board. Trayvon Walker is going to be on the board. Karlaftis. I don't know, but it's going to be one of those guys is going to be picked at 15. Whoever the best, which I hope they take the best defensive lineman at that point, if you are going to take one, and then that other pick is a toss-up. I don't know if they're going to use that pick on a corner or a wide receiver. Actually, I don't really think my gut feeling is it's definitely not going to be a wide receiver. It could be 2 defensive linemen that we draft in the first round. I'm not even joking. Like I just think that's this team's MO. It's what they've always done. It's how he normally does, and it depends on how the board falls. But I just see us going D-line in this first round, 100%.
Hey, you never know. We can do a double dip. You can get a Karlaftis and maybe a Jermaine Johnson out of Florida State.
I'm not saying that wouldn't be the right move either. I mean, our pass rush is already instantly better because we ended up getting Hassan Reddick, but we could really make our pass rush good again. And the reason why I said earlier we need to have a great defense is because if you look in history of this team's MO is built off of having some great defenses and some great defensive players that are nasty and will go after you and hit you. And for the last few years, we haven't really had that on this team. So we need to bring the nastiness of this defense back. And this is the time to do it.
Yeah,
whoever wants to go can go.
Yeah, I mean, we've known for years that this team has prioritized both trenches, offensive line and defensive line. They're, to the Eagles, they have been invaluable, for however many years now. Like those are 2 aspects of the team that they are pretty much known for. Especially with Johnson's philosophy, Andy Reid's philosophy. You can go across the board and see that it hasn't changed very much. I personally do not see a double dip, on the defensive line, especially defensive tackle, because I mean they paid Fletcher Cox how much money this year, and in terms of D tackle,
they're going to draft Cox's replacement.
Well, yeah, even then, who are you going to take snaps from? There's that you have to
That's
consider.
True. We do have a lot of money tied into Hargrave too. I forgot about that.
Yeah, so you're gonna have to figure out who you're taking snaps from, and then that throws people, a little further back in the depth chart, especially how high they are on Milton Williams, and unfortunately Marlon Tuipulotu, even though he was a fifth, I think he was a 6th rounder, even though that they're very excited about him, but he suffered a significant hamstring injury, so they're hoping that they can get something out of him, especially in terms of run defense. But either way, there's still validity in taking a D tackle that early. I'm just trying to figure out who they're going to take snaps, who they're going to take snaps from if you do take one early. I would think edge at that point is more viable than D tackle, but both positions could use some depth, fairly amongst each other.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
I honestly think it's going to be an edge and a wide receiver.
Yeah, so you got us taking an edge rusher and a wide receiver. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, and it also goes into play with who's available also. Because if you have a good talent, I'm not saying this will happen, but say a Stingley Jr. falls, I think they're going to make a jump on that.
I'm not
saying him specifically, but I mean someone with that talent. If they fall, Thibodeau, they're going to make a jump on that.
I got to tell you, Vic, I'm still very concerned about the corner position. Slay does not have much time left. He could very well be due for another extension, and then once he is gone, what corners do you have left to play on the outside? How much do we really like Zech McPherson, Tay Gowan, Kerry Vincent Jr.? Those are project guys.
We cannot start these guys in a game. This could not happen.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, this draft and this team are primed They're absolutely primed for both the corner and the safety position, and I think those two spots, while we don't value safety as much as we don't value linebacker, yeah, those
Right.
are the two least valuable on this football team. But to me, I think corner is a lot worse off than D tackle and edge.
Right. I just want to say something real quick because you made me think of it. There was an interview of Nick Sirianni at the NFL coaches meeting. It was like a few weeks ago, and he was bringing up like all those names that you were saying, like Tay Gowan and McPherson.
Yeah, it was
like,
a press conference.
All those like young project guys, and he was like, "Oh, he was hyping them up so much," and I was just like, not only that, but he went on to say something like, "Oh, well, Derek Barnett has a high football IQ." At that point, I was just like, Nick, how much did they pay you to say this stuff, bro? Like, the first stuff, I get it. You're gassing up players on your team, which every coach does that. But come on, man. Like, you did not have to go out of your way for Derek Barnett, man. Like, really high football IQ? I just couldn't believe he said that.
Well, one of the reasons why I didn't like that trade with the Saints is because we had capital to move up and still be comfortable with another pick in the first round. Now we lost that. It's going to cost more for us to move up now.
All I'm going to say is this: pick 15. Whoever we pick at 15 better be an immediate difference maker for the team. Yeah, for sure. We cannot afford to screw this draft up at all. At all.
Corner.
You think they go with Jabo with one of those two picks? Maybe the second
in the first round? I really hope they don't.
No,
if he's available in the second round, I think they'll think about it.
I think with the 15th pick, it's not my choice. I think the 15th pick, they're going to go with the center.
Really?
Linderbaum? Oh, good.
I'll lose my mind. I will lose my mind if they go with center.
Kelsey is so much. It's a year by year thing with him. I see it happening. I just see we're going to get Linderbaum. And
what about Landon? Landon was a center for Alabama. He's only playing guard because Kelsey won't hang it up.
Right?
Yep.
But like Vic said, I'd lose my mind. I'll go.
You'll lose your mind. I think we can all agree if that's the pick, then we'll all be pissed.
Crazy. But like I said, I think the 18th pick is getting traded, and then you're going to have to. It's going to be so high that it's going to be valuable player at that point. But I think they're going to go Linderbaum, and it's like
all we know.
Burnett's IQ is lower than my IQ.
All we know is that. In the past few days, with all the news that we have been gathering, all I know is that the Eagles have been giving us the answers to the tests. They gave us answers in terms of wide receiver. They've been very aggressive in free agency and trying to get a receiver, even though they have swung and missed and these players have chose elsewhere or our offer was just not competitive enough. I mean, it is what it is. They gave us answers to wide receiver, and they're giving us answers to corner. They're supposed to be hosting Sauce Gardner on April 10th. So, I mean, that's two positions right there that we already know the Eagles are highly prioritizing, whether it's free agency or the draft. So, I know I stuck, and the funny part is that last year I stuck with cornerback as the first pick for the Eagles because I either wanted J.C. Horn or Patrick Surtain, and lo and behold, yet again, Eagles are in the same position all over again with needing another outside corner. And now again, they have another opportunity. And when are you going to start considering that you need to get some cornerstone at that position for the next 5 to 8 years? That you're going to start grooming somebody, instead of relying on free agency to plug holes. We got to start thinking about that. We got to start grooming our own talent in house. And again, corner is another high priority.
I like Backyard Bird's comment right here. I think this would be a great idea. Let's say that they moved up to get like Stingley or Gardner or somebody, and then they moved back and got more picks, I would definitely be down with that.
That I can get with that, but Harry Roseman ain't doing that. He's just not.
If he moves up, I think if he does move up, I think it's gonna be for Thibodeau. If Thibodeau starts slipping,
yeah,
he'll get on that. There's
Probably
no doubt.
Thibodeau or Gardner.
I would love Gardner. If I might have to retract my earlier statement because if we got Gardner, I would be pretty pumped about that. I'm not gonna lie.
And I wouldn't be surprised if it was Andrew Booth either, because Kayvon Wallace knows him. And, you got the Clemson connection there. But that's the other part of it that scares me at the same time. And, regardless of the fact of Kayvon Wallace being a 4th-round pick and Andrew Booth is good enough to be a first, where's Kayvon Wallace in his development right now? He's primarily been stuck in special teams because he's just not good enough. He's just not good enough.
I
to
wouldn't
be
blame that
hired
on Clemson, though. I wouldn't blame that on Clemson, though. Look at AJ Terrell. He was one of the best corners in the league last year. He went to Clemson.
I get that part. I get it, but still.
But Clemson definitely had a down year last year. They were not that good.
No.
First pick should be Sauce or Hamilton. Bro, I hope so. I just think that they're definitely not going to be available when we pick. But if we move up for one of those guys,
you have to move up for that.
I'm definitely down for that. If we get Hamilton or Sauce, I'm with that all day.
Now I got a question.
Go ahead.
You had to move up to get Sauce.
Right.
How much is it going to cost us to move up to get Sauce?
It'll probably cost us
like a third, or is it going to cost us a first and a second?
Would you trade 15 and our 2nd-round pick this year to move into the top 10 and get Sauce?
Yeah.
Would you guys be willing to do that?
I would.
I would do 15 and 83. I'm not giving up that second because there's too large of a gap. There's too large of a gap between 18 and 83.
So you think that the gap between Sauce and the other corners is not that big?
No, I'm saying if we move up to take Sauce, we're not grabbing another corner. We're going to have to prioritize a different position. So if we give up 15, and 51, being that that's
we do
our
what
second
Backyard
rounder,
Bird said? What if we trade the second for next year? Would you do it then?
If they accept it, then sure. Because you already know that in the following year you have 2 second-rounders. So
I would do it 100%. I wouldn't even think about it.
I would do, but if, like they said, if you could take the 18th pick and trade back and get
more picks, that's another option.
And you get another second pick. You'll be still good. You'll still have a second pick.
I think it just all depends on who the team is that we're gonna to try and trade with based on how the board falls.
I wouldn't trade up.
Be in the top 10.
I wouldn't trade up. I think for the most part, I'll stay put because you got to think about there's still quality receivers in the 2nd round. You can still find someone good. Who's to say right now with Stingley specifically? Like everyone's making this deal. He had his pro day. But if you look at his 40 time, it's pretty good. But now you got to translate that onto the field. Will he be a slower corner? Is he overhyped? Would you make a jump for Sauce Gardner? We talked about him, but look at the competition he faced at Cincinnati. It's not the same as someone from the SEC. So are you going to risk moving up and then probably having an okay player? Or would you rather stay put, like Lenny said, with the possibility of getting more corners and have a bigger possibility of getting a star out of that?
Yeah.
So you're saying we should keep our picks in case we swing and miss? So
I think we should just stay put and let the draft come to us.
A less chance of failure. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Because, like I said, if you make moves prematurely, you might miss out on something. Instead of, like I said, letting someone fall down, and then you have an opportunity where instead of jumping up 6 spots, you may only have to go 2. You may not have to go at all.
Just like we jumped only how many spots for Devontae Smith? 2 spots in front of the Giants.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks to the Cowboys. Most hilarious trade ever.
Thank you, Dallas.
But you know what? Even with that move, though, I think we're going to owe Dallas a favor. That's what I'm afraid of. If we give up one of our picks, so Dallas can move up.
I think this is the appropriate. I think this is an appropriate time for me to bring up this story. All the Giants fans that cried after we made that trade and got Devontae Smith. I got my first copyright strike on YouTube because I made this video that was called Giants fans' reaction to Devontae Smith to the Eagles draft pick. I put like a compilation of like all these random YouTubers that were Giants YouTubers, and one of the people that I took his video of his reaction and put it on here, he flagged it, and I got a strike for it. It was the funniest thing ever.
Was that Cop Pizzle?
No, but his reaction was the funniest though. But it was somebody else. I don't even remember I didn't even know what the person's name was. But yeah, I got my first ever strike because of that. Funny as hell.
It's even funnier when they stopped crying to the fact of when they were getting John Ross and Kenny Golladay and we got a stacked receiving core better than you guys. Screw Devontae Smith, and look what happened.
The Kenny Golladay part was funny. That was hilarious because he came out of Detroit, a team that won nothing. I don't know what they expected he was going to do.
The funniest thing was when they were taking all the pictures of Devontae Smith, like going up to get drafted. They kept saying, "Oh, this guy's not smiling. He's not happy to be with Philly."
Yeah.
Like some people just don't freaking like smile in pictures and stuff. People aren't photogenic. Like it had nothing to do with him not wanting to be drafted by Philly.
Well, in the end, Dallas didn't sweat anything since they got Micah Parsons. Worked out for both of us.
It worked out for both of us.
No, they saved money too when they traded back.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's the trade
Listen,
back.
last year made it definitely. We will never pick a linebacker in the first round. You had an easy softball on Micah Parsons where you could have hit it out the park. They overlooked it. Granted, we got Smith, but only time will tell.
We made the right decision taking Smith. I think that you should probably blame the Jefferson situation because if we took Jefferson, we probably wouldn't have needed Smith, and we could have taken Parsons.
Well, then if you say that,
Smith was a pick for your quarterback. That's why it was better.
Well, because of how bad we missed out on Rager, then. Yeah, we really had no other choice but to take Smith.
No. You might as well take the Heisman winner. Yeah, why? If the Heisman winner is falling that far, I mean, come on. That was common sense. Why not?
Yeah. All right, guys. So, next question. What are your guys' thoughts about the classic Kelly Green jerseys coming back next year?
Oh man, I'm excited.
Excited about it?
Oh yeah. I mean, I got when they brought the jerseys, the new jerseys, I was so ticked off. But I'm old school. I was a kid when I was with Reggie White and Randall Cunningham and Jerome Brown. I mean, we used to when I was a kid, we used to cheer, bring it home for Jerome, like. When he passed away, I'm like, and then the guys got rid of it. I'm like, dude, why? It was so cool. I loved it. But I'm excited about the black ones.
The black helmets, yeah, that's going to be cool too to see this year.
I want to see that one. But you only do that once, right? They're only doing it once this year?
I think they could do it twice. They usually wear the black jerseys twice a year.
Yeah, it's twice.
I want to see the black on black. It'll be weird, but
20 years in the making. Yeah, for sure.
I don't know how anybody is not excited about this.
We're excited about it.
I don't know how
they handed in that request late last year. We should have been seeing Kelly Green's last name.
I said this when I was on your show, Vic. I always thought it was the stupidest rule that in the NFL you could not have 2 helmets. Because in college, these teams, like some of these teams like Oregon has like 20 uniforms at least. And they got like 20 helmets and like different colors, like and all this other stuff. And it's supposed to be a safety concern, but in the NCAA, it's not a safety concern. It makes no sense.
Did they ever explain what was the safety concern? Is it looking too flashy on the field? Someone might stop
no idea what it was.
Compliment another player on how good they look. Is that the issue?
I assumed it was related to concussions, just with it being like the helmets. But if you're using the same helmets, it makes no sense.
You're gonna purchase a lower quality helmet because you got more colors.
Yeah,
it makes no sense. Like it's literally the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, it's not like
it literally is
a
the no fun league
1991 helmet and putting it on.
It was a
but
rule.
We are talking about a league where you can't even have your socks but so high, or your shirt has to be tucked in. It's stupid by now. Like,
even if it's a money thing, it also shouldn't be a money thing. With the amount of money the NFL makes, they make more money than any other league in professional sports by a long margin too. So money and revenue is definitely not an issue here, because that this is just the NFL being stupid. But I guess that's enough for my rant of the rule. The rules changed. We got 2 helmets. We're gonna try out the black ones this year. Kelly Green coming back next year. I don't know when their first game they're gonna announce the Kelly Green jerseys, but if I'm being straight up with you, it's gonna be one of the biggest games of the year. It's definitely gonna be against a team that's a big opponent.
I got a question for all of you.
Go ahead.
Kelly Green jerseys, you go buy one. Who are you going to get on a Kelly Green jersey? Like right now, who would you get?
I think Devontae Smith with that Kelly Green 6 going to look too sweet. I got to get me one.
I'll give you his.
Yeah, I got to get Jalen.
That's the one I would go with.
Jalen will look cold too. Yeah.
I got to get that number 1 jersey, and I got to go for a throwback. I got to get that Randall Cunningham.
Yeah,
I got right now.
Yeah.
Me personally, I'm grabbing Jason Kelsey's.
That's not a bad pick.
Just for what I know in terms of what he's been worth to this football team, and being the best center in football. He's going to be a Hall of Famer, and just how much value he has meant in terms of not just himself but the franchise, the accolades he has.
And Lindy kind of froze up. So yeah, guys, I think that's pretty much all the topics I have, unless there's something you guys want to bring up. Okay. Well, we're gonna go ahead and end the stream, but thank you very much for everybody that was in here. Before we and Backyard Bird says he's going to get Lane Johnson. So yeah, guys, make sure that you guys leave a like on the stream. Subscribe to all these guys' channels. I have all the links in the description box. So simply on the video, just click that little arrow and you'll be able to see all the links to their channels and go check out what these guys are up to for sure. In the meantime, Philly Halftime and Vic, you want to tell the guys what you guys are working on and where they can find you and all that kind of stuff?
Sure, yeah. You can find me tonight at 10 o'clock. I'll be on the East Meets West podcast with my co-host, AK Eagles Uncensored, Philly Foothills, and Gio from the 215. And on Saturday at 2 p.m., you can catch me on the Big Ticket. This week's special guest will be Philly Mike. So, yeah, appreciate you for letting me on, man. It's great. And I can't wait to have you back on because, yeah, on the Big Ticket, I was thinking about doing something for draft. So I'll be in contact with you. Hopefully you're free.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. You too, Philly Halftime. Hopefully you're free as well.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah, man.
You can catch me on YouTube at Philly Halftime, and I'm also on Twitter at Philly Halftime. and I want to thanks for having me on. You guys are awesome, and
Appreciate it, brother.
a bunch of guys that have great knowledge.
You too, man. You definitely. I mean, you called the trade, man. I mean, we gotta give you that one.
Hey, I know everybody said it wasn't going to happen. They didn't think it was going to happen, but I got another like that one trade. I got another trade going, and
Hey, man.
I don't
hey,
like
guys,
Howie
listen.
Roseman.
Anybody that's watching this that works like in any NFL teams, if the Eagles trade back like he predicted, if he gets it again, you guys got to hire this man. You guys got to get this man in a front office on somewhere. The Eagles or some team, hopefully.
I want to know if Vic thinks if the Eagles would trade back again.
It would depend on the deal, what they would get out of it. If it's something like, say, we're at 18 and we're moving back to 20, 23 in that range, I believe that's something they would do because they would possibly pick up maybe another second round pick, maybe that year or next year. I'm hoping whatever we get is for this year, not for next year.
Well, that's what I was saying. It was going to be for this year, a second round pick. I was saying 20 to 25 in that area, and it would have been that. But that's pretty cool that you wouldn't you wouldn't freak out.
No. Like you I would understand it because, like I said, then you're going to capitalize on the second round.
I feel like this is what Howie's hoping for. He gets on the clock at the 15th pick, and there's like some quarterback that's like Kenny Pickett or somebody that's on the board, and there's like a team like the Steelers or somebody that wants Kenny Pickett or wants any quarterback, I guess, and then they're just like, look, bro, we'll give you like a first rounder this year and a first rounder next year. Like, let's do this thing. Like, another 2 first rounders on top of that.
Damn,
that's what I think Howie's hoping for. Is that going to happen?
No.
I don't know. I don't think a team would be willing to give up that much for one of these quarterbacks because they're just not that good. But if they did, that would be crazy.
I think there would be a possibility, especially when you look at, say, if a Malik Willis is out there and you have Seattle, you have Washington, they haven't picked yet. Or whatever the case is, like you have someone out there that it's, multiple teams were looking at, and for whatever reason, that person fell. And Philly just so happened to be in that area where if you make a jump, make a deal with Philly, you can get your guy.
Yeah, Seattle. What if Seattle calls and like, we give you 2023 and 2024? Like, if that happened, I think Howie's pulling the trigger.
Well, I think if it's Seattle, I think you have to finagle a way of, how do we get DK Metcalf out of your hands?
That's right there, DK.
How are we going to make this deal happen? I'll give you the first. I'll take DK. You can just take the first if you'd like.
The 15th pick for DK. I mean, yeah, I would do it, but apparently they like turned down the 10th pick.
Yeah.
But who was it that has the 10th pick?
Oh, the Jets. And ironically, that would be Seattle's pick if they didn't trade for Jamal Adams.
I think it's going to take 4 picks to get DK. Or A.J. Brown.
Which is why I probably wouldn't do it.
Yeah. It depending on, I don't know what Seattle's doing.
Not that I don't like either one of the guys.
It may well be that they're waiting until the draft, like I said, to wait for a team that's desperate enough to say, hey, we'll give you 2 first rounds and a second, or whatever the case may be.
If that happens, he's got to do it. Like, that would be an absolutely insane type of a trade. But anyway... Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just agreeing.
Yeah, I got you. So, Lindy, you want to give shout-outs? We're going to shut the stream down. We've been going for about an hour and a half. So, definitely a good conversation. It lasted quite a while. Lindy, you got anything?
Nothing that I can necessarily think of other than, again, I'm just I have to say I'm pretty, ecstatic about being on Sideline Sports and the opportunity for, the two of us to create a podcast together over there on the platform. I should be up and running soon back on my channel again. Still going through a couple of changes with the return and whatnot. I'm not doing Mavericks coverage anymore. It doesn't mean I I won't be following them, but you already know the deal. Back scoring, back in for the touchdown, taking the lead for the team one video at a time. And yeah, that's pretty much all I got. Nothing else.
All right, guys, and you guys can also tune into the Gauntlet on Saturday. Lindy going to be a special guest on there. So, that being said, guys, we thank everybody for being a part of the stream, watching the stream, and I might even try to make this like maybe like a once a month thing, have a round table. I think that'd be really fun. But anyway, guys, we will see you next time on the next stream. All right, go Birds, let's go.